The night on the peaceful alien farming moon Valor 3 was always calm. The purple sky glowed softly, and the farms stretched across the valleys like quiet waves. Nothing dangerous ever happened here. The Velari people lived simple lives, far from wars, far from the loud galaxy. But this night, something changed. A strange light appeared high in the sky. At first, it was small, like a star moving in the wrong direction. Then the light grew brighter. It looked like fire. It looked like something falling. Fast. Too fast. Two farmers working late were the first to see it. "Is that a ship?" one asked. "No," the other whispered, stepping back. "It is too small. And ships do not burn like that." The burning object roared as it entered the lower sky. It left a long white tail cutting across the darkness. Animals ran. Children screamed. The light was blinding, hot, and wrong. In the main village, a bell rang, something they only used in disaster. The villagers gathered outside, panic spreading across every face. They watched the burning object speed over the farms and smash into the eastern valley with a deep, shaking thunder. The ground trembled under their feet. Dust rose in a tall cloud. For the first time in many years, fear entered Valor 3. The villagers moved together toward the valley, torches in hand. No one spoke. No one knew what to expect. Some thought it was a weapon. Others thought it was a sign from the stars. When they reached the valley, they stopped in shock. The crash had carved a giant crater in the earth. The soil was burned black. At the center of the crater was a metal pod, small, round, and smoking. The metal was old and cracked, as if it had traveled a long, long way before crashing here. Elder Mavic, the oldest and wisest of the Velari, stepped forward. He touched the side of the pod carefully. The metal was cold, almost dead. "This is ancient technology," he said softly. "Older than our own history." A few villagers moved closer, staring with wide eyes. The pod was not from any known alien race. Its shape was strange. Its color was faded silver. Symbols were scratched across its surface, symbols no one recognized. Then a sound came from inside. A small, weak cry. The villagers froze. Elder Mavic leaned closer. "Something is alive inside." He pressed a small button on the cracked doorway. The door slid open with a slow, painful creak. Smoke poured out. Everyone stepped back. Inside the pod was a child. A small boy, maybe 9 years old, lying unconscious under a burnt silver blanket. His skin was pale. His hair was dark. His face was peaceful, but his breathing was slow and soft. The villagers stared in complete silence, because they all knew what he was. A human. Something the galaxy had not seen in 900 years. Humans were believed to be extinct, wiped out during the Great Burn War. Their homeworld lost. Their colonies destroyed. No human ships had appeared in centuries. For generations they were only stories. Yet here, in a broken pod far from the rest of the galaxy, was a living child. How can this be?" one villager whispered. "Is he dangerous?" asked another. "No human has lived in our time," someone said, voice shaking. "Not one." Elder Mavic carefully lifted a small, blinking device from the child's wrist. It was cracked and old, but a message appeared on its dim screen. The message was written in an ancient Earth language, one Mavic recognized from old forgotten books. His voice trembled as he read it. "Do not let them touch him." A cold silence fell across the valley. Them? Who were they? Why was this warning attached to a child? Before anyone could speak, the wind changed. It grew colder. The sky behind the crater darkened, even though it was not yet late. Clouds formed unnaturally fast, twisting as if pulled by something unseen. A low humming sound spread through the air. Not the wind. Not animals. Something mechanical. Something searching. The villagers turned toward the dark forest at the edge of the valley. Something moved between the trees. A shadow. Too thin to be a normal creature. Too fast to be natural. Red eyes flickered for a moment, then disappeared. What was that?" a villager whispered, stepping back. Elder Mavic felt his heart beat faster. "We are not alone tonight." The humming grew louder, slow and steady, like a predator tracking its prey. The villagers tightened their circle around the crater. Fear spread. Weapons shook in trembling hands. The child suddenly stirred in Elder Mavic's arms. His eyes opened, bright, deep, and filled with terror. He gasped and clung to Mavic's robe. "They are coming," he whispered, voice weak and broken. "They followed me, don't let them touch me." Mavic's breath stopped. The warning was real. The villagers looked again toward the forest. The red eyes returned, 2, 4, 6. More shadows appeared behind them. Something mechanical stepped into view, covered in dark armor, shaped like an insect but walking like a hunter. It clicked. It scanned. It smelled the air. It was looking for the child. Mavic held the boy closer. "We must move," he said, voice strong now. "Now. Before those things reach us." The villagers obeyed instantly. Because tonight, Valor 3 was no longer peaceful. Tonight, something from the dark galaxy was searching. And it wanted the child. The villagers of Valor 3 did not waste a single second. Elder Mavic held the human child tightly against his chest as he ran. The boy's breathing was weak, but he was awake now, afraid, shaking, and whispering words no one understood. Behind them, the forest hummed with an unnatural sound. Not loud, but sharp. Not like a machine, but not alive either. Something was hunting them. "Move toward the village," Mavic ordered. "Stay together." The Velari villagers hurried up the rocky path. Their torchlight shook with every step. The moon's gentle glow, usually so calming, now felt cold and distant. Every shadow looked alive. Children cried. Farmers clenched simple tools in trembling hands. Every person could feel it. Something dangerous, something not from their moon, was following them. Mavic looked down at the human child in his arms. "What are they?" he asked softly. The boy did not answer. He only stared ahead with wide, terrified eyes, as if he could see something the others could not. A sudden metallic click echoed behind them. Everyone stopped. Torches were raised, hands shaking. Eyes searched the darkness. Then they saw it. A tall, thin, insect-like creature stepped out of the forest. Its body was made of black metal. Its limbs were long and sharp like blades. Its eyes were glowing red circles, scanning every living thing in the valley. It did not breathe. It did not blink. It only watched. A soft voice came from the child, barely audible. "One, drone." "Drone?" The villagers did not understand the word, but they understood the fear in his voice. The creature tilted its head as if listening. Then it moved fast. So fast the torches flickered from the wind it created. It crossed the distance between the trees and the crater in only a few seconds. "Run!" Mavic shouted. The villagers obeyed instantly. They rushed up the path again, hearts pounding, feet stumbling. Behind them, the black drone approached the crater and stopped. Then something terrifying happened. The drone placed a thin metallic arm into the crater's soil. The ground glowed for a moment, like it was reading something hidden under the earth. And then the drone vanished. Not exploded. Not flew away. It simply dissolved into dust, sucked into the cracked ground. A villager gasped. "What was that? Did it die?" "No," Mavic whispered. "It went somewhere. Moved. Without moving." The child clutched Mavic's robe. "It is calling the others." "The others?" The thought made everyone's skin crawl. They reached the village edge, but the air here felt wrong too, dry, heavy, and electric. The sky above darkened again, forming a swirling spiral of clouds. The moonlight flickered like a dying candle. "What is happening?" someone cried. "It is the child," another whispered. "Or what is chasing him?" Elder Mavic raised his hand. Inside. Everyone inside the great hall. The villagers rushed inside the large stone building at the center of the village. They barred the doors with wooden beams. The hall filled with frightened voices. Mothers held their children. Warriors sharpened their old blades, knowing they might be useless. Elders whispered prayers. The torches flickered as if the air itself was afraid. Mavic laid the human child gently on a wooden bench. His breathing was better now, but his face was pale and tired. Mavic knelt beside him. "Child, you must speak. What is following you?" The boy looked at him with empty, distant eyes. The null. The word meant nothing to the Velari. But the way the child said it made their hearts drop. "The null order?" Mavic repeated, trying to understand. "Who are they?" The boy swallowed hard. "They kill everything they touch. They erase life. They destroyed my ship." His voice trembled. "They want me, because I remember something. Something humans were not supposed to remember." "But humans vanished 900 years ago," Mavic said softly. "How are you alive?" The boy looked down. "I don't know." Before Mavic could ask more, the hall trembled. A faint vibration traveled through the floor. Something was walking outside. The warriors moved closer to the walls. A scraping sound began, metal against stone. Slow. Steady. Near. Then a thin metallic arm slid under the heavy doors. A glowing red eye peered inside, searching. Screams erupted. "Push the door," the warriors shouted. They pressed their weight against the wooden beams as the arm tried to lift the lock. But the drone was strong. A crack formed in the wood. "It's breaking through," a villager yelled. Mavic grabbed the child's hand. "Is there anywhere safe? Somewhere they cannot reach?" The boy nodded weakly. "Below, underground. They cannot track old tunnels. They cannot see through stone that thick." Mavic turned to the villagers. "To the tunnels? Now." The warriors held the door for a few more seconds, just enough time. The rest of the villagers moved to the back of the hall and opened a small hatch leading into ancient mining tunnels below the village. As they climbed down, the child whispered, "There will be more." That was only the first one. Behind them, the wooden door finally cracked open. The red eyes entered, and the hunt began again. The old tunnels beneath the great hall were cold, dark, and filled with memories of a time long gone. No one had worked here for generations. Dust covered the stone floors and old mining tools lay broken against the walls. The torches the villagers carried barely lit the narrow passages. But for now, these forgotten tunnels were their only hope. The villagers moved quickly, helping children climb down the ladder while warriors stayed at the hatch above, ready to close it the moment everyone was inside. Elder Mavic carried the human child, who clung to his robe, breathing fast and shallow. Above them, metal scraped against wood. The drone was breaking through the great hall. The last villager climbed down. "Close it," Mavic ordered. The warriors slammed the hatch shut just as a metallic claw pierced through the wooden door above. Dust fell from the ceiling of the tunnel. The sound was terrifying, like a knife cutting through bone. Then silence. A silence that felt worse than noise, because now they didn't know where the drone was. Mavic kept moving deeper into the tunnels. "We must reach the old shelter," he said. "The stone there is thick. Even if they search, they cannot sense us." The villagers followed, though fear shook every step. The child kept staring over Mavic's shoulder, as if he could still feel the drone above them. "It won't stop," he whispered. "It is only one of them. They will send more." "How many?" Mavic asked. The boy did not answer. That silence was enough to make the villagers tremble again. After a long walk, the group reached a large chamber. Stone pillars held the roof, and old mining carts stood frozen on rusted rails. The room was big enough for everyone to gather, and the ceiling was high. Mavic signaled the group to rest. Warriors stood guard near the tunnel entrances, listening for any sound. Mavic finally placed the child on an old overturned crate. The boy looked exhausted, sweat shining on his forehead. The villagers kept their distance, staring with a mix of fear and curiosity. No one had ever seen a human before, not alive, not real. The boy's small hands trembled. Mavic spoke gently. "Child, you must tell us what you remember. Any detail may save us." The child breathed slowly. "I don't remember much. Only pieces. Like broken glass in my mind." He closed his eyes and touched his forehead. "I remember running. A big red alarm. People shouting. A soldier holding my hand. We were on a ship, a human ship. It was burning." A soft gasp rose from the villagers. A human ship had not been seen in centuries. The boy continued in a shaking voice. "The Null Order attacked us. They cut through the walls. They killed everyone. The soldier lifted me, placed me inside the escape pod, and said." His voice grew softer. "You're the last one. You're the key." Mavic leaned in. "The key to what?" The boy looked up at him, eyes deep and scared. "I don't know. But the Null Order knows." A heavy silence filled the chamber. Suddenly the torches flickered. All at once. A wave of cold air passed through the tunnel, but not from wind. The warriors tightened their grip on their weapons. The child pressed his hands to his head again. "They're close." "How can you tell?" Mavic asked softly. The boy's voice dropped to a whisper. "I can feel them." The villagers stepped back, fear rising again. The boy continued, "They are machines, but not normal machines. They think. They search. And they want something inside me." Mavic frowned. "But what?" The child didn't know. But something inside him was awakening, something he did not understand. The torches flickered again, then went completely dark. Gasps echoed in the chamber. A moment passed, long, terrifying. Then a strange blue glow rose from the center of the room. Everyone turned. The glow was coming from the child. The villagers stumbled back in shock. The boy stared at his own hands, which were glowing softly, like blue fire under the skin. I can't stop it," he said, voice shaking. "It happens when they get close." Mavic's heart pounded. "What is this? Human ability?" "No," the boy whispered. "Something else. Something they put in me. Something humans were not supposed to have." The glow grew brighter for a moment, lighting the whole chamber, then faded again. The villagers stared in silence. Humans had always been feared in old legends, not just for war, but for a forbidden power. A power no one truly understood. Was this child the origin of that power? Or the result? Before anyone could speak, the tunnel walls trembled. Dust fell from the ceiling. A distant metallic sound echoed from the upper passages. "They found us," a warrior whispered. The child shook his head. "No, not yet. They are scanning. They can't see us directly, but they know I'm here." Mavic looked at the warriors. "We must move again. Deeper. To the old shelter. It's the only place left." As they prepared to move, a loud crack echoed from the tunnel above, like stone splitting under pressure. Then a piercing screech. One no living creature could make. One that promised death. The villagers began to run. The child reached out and grabbed Mavic's sleeve. "They are not the only danger," he whispered. "There is something else waking up, something human, something old." Mavic froze. "What do you mean?" The child looked up at him. "There were machines hidden in the earth before I landed. Old human machines. I felt them when I arrived." He pointed deeper into the tunnels. "They are waking up now." Another screech echoed through the stone. Two forces were now in motion. The hunters searching for the child, and the forgotten human machines rising from the dark. And neither force would stop. Not until they found him. The tunnels grew darker as the villagers moved deeper underground. The air changed too, dry, cold, and strangely heavy, as if the moon itself was holding its breath. Elder Mavic carried the child while the others followed with dim torches. The lights shook with every step, throwing long shadows across the ancient walls. Behind them, in the upper tunnels, the metallic screech echoed again. Closer. Then the sound of something heavy crawling through stone. Not walking, crawling. Like giant metal insects dragging their bodies across the walls. "The null drones," whispered one of the warriors. "They are spreading through the tunnels." "No," the child said weakly, "those are only scouts. The main hunter is still above." The warriors exchanged worried looks. If these crawling machines were only scouts, what was the real hunter? Mavic tried to speak calmly. "Child, you said something else is waking. Human machines. What did you mean?" The boy closed his eyes, listening to something only he could feel. "They were left here, long ago," he said slowly. "Deep under the moon. Sleeping in the rock. Silent for hundreds of years." "Human weapons?" a warrior asked. "No," the boy whispered. "Something older than weapons." A cold silence followed those words. The path ended at a wide cavern. Unlike the rough tunnels behind them, this chamber was perfectly smooth, like metal, not stone. The walls curved inward, forming a round structure half buried under dirt. The villagers stared at it in confusion. "Did our ancestors build this?" someone whispered. "No," Mavic said. "This is not Velari design. This is..." He touched the wall gently. "Human." Everyone froze. A human structure. Here? Buried under a farming moon no human had ever visited? The boy reached out his hand. As soon as his fingers touched the wall, it lit up, soft blue lines spreading across the metal like veins. The villagers gasped. The boy's eyes widened, glowing faintly with the same blue light. "It knows me," he whispered. "It recognizes me." A deep electronic hum spread through the chamber. Dust fell from the ceiling. The curved metal wall split open slowly, revealing a hidden doorway. The villagers stepped back in fear. "What have you awakened, child?" one asked. "I didn't awaken it," he said weakly. "It was waiting for me." That was even worse. Inside the doorway was a dark corridor, clean metal, old but untouched by time. Strange symbols glowed on the walls. The air felt warm and alive, like the inside of a sleeping creature. The group stepped inside slowly. As they entered, the doorway sealed shut behind them without a sound. Panic rose instantly. "We are trapped." "Open it." Mavic raised a hand. "Calm yourselves. The drones cannot break through this place. Humans built this. It may be our only safety for now." The child tugged Mavic's sleeve. "We have to keep going." "Why?" "Because something down here wants to talk to me." Everyone shivered at those words. They walked deeper. The corridor opened into a large chamber filled with strange machines. Tall metal shapes, half buried in dust, connected by thick cables. Some looked like armor. Some like pots. Others like pillars covered in glowing text. But none were active. Until the boy stepped forward. A pulse of blue energy spread across the room. Lights flickered. Old screens glowed. Something deep beneath the floor started humming like a giant heartbeat. "What is happening?" a villager cried. The child took a shaky breath. "They are waking up." "What are they?" Mavic asked. The boy pointed to the central machine, a tall, human-shaped structure with a glowing core in its chest. "Aegis Wardens," the child whispered. "Old Earth Guardians." "Guardians?" Mavic repeated. The boy nodded slowly. "They protected human colonies, long ago. Before the wars. Before extinction." "And why are they under our moon?" Mavic asked. The boy lowered his head. "Humans hid them. Before the Great Burn. They knew something was coming." As if hearing those words, the largest machine, over 3 meters tall, activated. Its eyes lit up, blue. The villagers stumbled back, terrified. The machine stepped forward, metal plates shifting like muscle. "Identity confirmed," it said in a deep mechanical voice. "Human designate found. Protocol, protect the air." Everyone stared at the child. "Air?" The boy's voice trembled. "It means me." The machine knelt before him. "You are the last genetic key," it said. "Directive, survival. Directive, restoration. Directive, retaliation." The villagers didn't understand. But Mavic did. This child was not just a survivor. He was part of an old human plan. A plan that spanned centuries. Before anyone could speak, the walls shook. A loud metallic roar came from outside the sealed corridor. The Null Hunter had found them. The giant human machine turned toward the door. "Enemy signature detected," it said. "Null entity approaching. Initiating defense protocol." More machines in the chamber lit up, one by one, awakening after centuries of silence. Blue cores. Heavy armor. Slow but powerful movements. The villagers watched with a mix of hope and terror. For the first time in centuries, human war machines were waking. The child clutched Mavic's robe. "They're coming," he whispered. "And this time, it's not just drones." Outside, the floor cracked. Stone broke. Something enormous began tearing its way down. And the real hunt was about to begin. The night on Valor 3 grew colder, and the air carried a strange heaviness. The village fires burned low, fighting against a creeping mist rolling in from the dark fields. The moon's gentle purple glow dimmed behind heavy clouds, as if the sky wanted to hide something. Elder Rilo stood at the edge of the village, staring toward the forest where the strange human child had been taken. His old heart beat faster than it had in years. He felt it in his bones. Something was coming for the boy. And it was getting closer. Behind him, the villagers whispered nervously. Some prayed to the old spirits, some sharpened farming blades, but none had the courage to step beyond the village lights. Suddenly, a sound echoed across the fields. A deep, low hum, almost like the sky groaning. The villagers froze. Rilo felt the ground vibrate under his feet. "Not natural," he whispered. "Not from this moon." The mist thickened. Strange shapes flickered inside it, tall and thin, moving with a smooth, unnatural rhythm, almost floating. Children were pulled indoors. Doors slammed. Windows locked. But it was already too late. The searchers had arrived. Meanwhile, in the old barn deep inside the forest, Kale stood guard near the unconscious human child. A dim lantern flickered beside him. The walls creaked softly and dust floated in the cold air. He looked down at the boy, small, pale, breathing weakly. Kale still could not understand why a human child would fall from the sky after 900 years. And he could not understand the strange message inside the pod. "Do not let them touch him." Who were they? As he checked the boy's temperature, he heard footsteps approaching. He spun around, gripping his wooden spear. It was Mira breathing hard. "Kale," she whispered urgently, "something is moving in the fields. Rilo sent me. He says the Sky Hunters may have come." Kale frowned. "Sky Hunters." Mira nodded. "Elder stories. Creatures that follow old human technology. Beasts that sense human blood. They live only for the hunt." Kale swallowed. "Stories to scare children." "Not stories," Mira whispered. Rilo looked terrified. Before Kale could reply, a sharp metallic click echoed from outside the barn. Not an animal sound. Not a villager. A machine. Kale grabbed Myra's hand and pulled her behind a stack of crates. The lantern flickered wildly as if reacting to some invisible energy. Outside, something moved past the wooden wall. Heavy. Silent. Intentional. Kale held his breath. The wall boards behind him froze over, covered in a thin layer of frost. The temperature dropped instantly. The child shivered on the blanket, sensing danger even in his unconscious state. Kale glanced at him. Why is everything coming for you? Another mechanical sound clicked. Then another. Then a voice. But not spoken. Transmitted. A cold electronic whisper seeped through the barn walls. Target, biological signature confirmed, human, retrieve alive. Kale's blood ran cold. Myra's hand tightened around his arm. Something metallic scraped along the roof, slowly, like claws or hooks feeling their way across the wood. Kale leaned close to Myra's ear. We need to run. Now. But where? She whispered. The old tunnels, Kale said. Under the barn. If we can reach the root caves, we can hide long enough for Rilo to help. Myra nodded, trembling. Kale lifted the unconscious child carefully into his arms. The boy was light, too light, almost fragile. But Kale could feel faint heat radiating from him, like a small, hidden power. Suddenly, boom. The barn door exploded inward. A shockwave knocked Kale and Myra off their feet. Dust and wooden splinters filled the air. The lantern shattered. Kale shielded the child with his body as the world went dark. Through the settling dust, Kale saw a shape step inside. Tall, metallic, silent, armor glowing with a faint blue pattern. A single red sensor eye glowed on its head, searching. A sky hunter. It scanned the room slowly. Human location, within 5 meters. Kale bit his lip, preventing a gasp. The sky hunter turned toward the crates where Kale and Myra hid. Myra's tears silently fell. Kale gripped the child tighter, ready to run even if it meant dying. The machine took one slow step. Then another. Then. A distant horn blasted across the forest. The sky hunter froze. Another horn. Then another. Villagers. Rilo had called the ancient alarm. The sky hunter turned its head toward the sound. Threat detected. Distraction formed. Without hesitating, it rushed toward the forest edge, moving impossibly fast, vanishing into the thick mist. Kale exhaled in shock. Myra pulled herself up. We need to go. They are searching everywhere. Kale nodded. And they will come back. He looked down at the human child, still unconscious, unaware of the chaos around him. But Kale felt something strange, something almost electric, coming from the boy. A sense of warning. A sense of destiny. Something powerful slept inside him. And the sky hunters wanted it. Kale tightened his grip. We protect him. Whatever happens. Myra whispered, even if the galaxy comes for him? Kale nodded. Even then. Outside, the mist swirled, filled with red scanning lights. The hunt had only begun. Deep inside the forest tunnels of Valor 3, Kale led Myra and the unconscious human child through narrow, twisting paths. The walls glowed faint blue from the roots of the ancient trees above, giving the tunnels a soft, ghostly light. Every sound echoed, a drip of water, a distant rumble, a whisper of moving air. Kale kept his steps quiet. Myra followed closely behind, holding a small lantern. But it barely helped. The tunnels were old and rarely used. Dust lay thick on the ground. The child still hadn't woken. Kale looked down at his small face. Pale, tired, but somehow, peaceful. As if he belonged to another world. Myra touched Kale's arm. We don't know his name. We'll ask him when he wakes, Kale replied, though his voice carried doubt. If he wakes. Myra lowered her head. Do you think the sky hunters will find us here? Kale didn't answer. He didn't want to lie. The sky hunters were machines built to track life. They could follow heat, breath, heartbeat, even memories according to legends. Kale prayed the stories were only stories. He turned a corner and stopped. A deep cavern opened before them, lit by giant glowing roots hanging like long vines. In the center was a small underground spring. We rest here, Kale said. Myra nodded gratefully. Her legs trembled from running. Kale laid the child gently beside the water. Myra knelt, wiping the dirt from the boy's cheeks. He looked scared, even in sleep. Kale touched the strange silver band wrapped around the boy's wrist. It wasn't a bracelet, more like a device. No buttons. No seams. No markings. It pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. Kale whispered, "What are you hiding, little one?" As if the boy heard him, his fingers twitched. Myra gasped. Kale, he's waking. The child's eyelids trembled. Slowly they opened. Blue eyes. Bright, glowing blue. Kale stepped back in shock. Myra whispered softly, "Hello. Don't be afraid." The boy blinked at them. His voice came out weak and cracked. "Where am I?" "You're safe," Myra said, giving him a small smile. "You crashed on our moon. We pulled you from your pod." Kale added carefully, "Do you remember your name?" The boy's eyes dimmed a little. He searched his mind. I think my name is Aaron. Mira smiled. Aaron. That's a beautiful name. But Aaron shook his head. No, it's not my real name. It's the name they gave me. For protection. Cale leaned forward. Who gave you that name? Aaron's face tightened. The ones who hid me. The ones who knew they were coming. A chill crawled up Cale's spine. Mira whispered, Who? Who was coming? Aaron looked down at his wrist device. It pulsed faster when he stared at it. His voice became small. The Harvesters. Cale exchanged a tense look with Mira. The Sky Hunters? Aaron shook his head. Those are only scouts. The Harvesters are worse. They follow me. They follow all humans. Cale felt the floor beneath him tilt. Humans have been extinct for 900 years. Aaron swallowed hard. No, not extinct. Hunted. Silence filled the cavern. Myra's voice trembled. Why you? Why do they want a child? Aaron looked up with eyes too old for his age. Because I remember the stars. I remember the codes. The places where things were hidden. They need what's in my mind. Cale felt his heart race. Hidden? What things? Aaron closed his eyes. For a moment, the glowing roots brightened, reacting to him, like the forest itself felt his presence. When he opened his eyes again, they glowed stronger. Old human weapons. Old human secrets. Something they fear. Something I was trained to protect. Cale's breath stopped. A 9-year-old child? Trained to protect galaxy-changing secrets? Mira whispered, But you're just a boy. Aaron shook his head slowly. They didn't let me be a boy. Suddenly, a loud metallic ping echoed through the tunnels. Cale's eyes widened. They found an entrance. Aaron grabbed Cale's sleeve with surprising strength. They're close. We don't have time. The roots overhead flickered rapidly, like a warning. Cale grabbed his spear and motioned to Mira. We need to move. Now. But Aaron didn't stand. He stared at the spring. The water began to ripple without wind or touch. A faint light swirled inside it, like tiny stars forming shapes. Cale froze. Aaron, what are you doing? Aaron whispered, I'm not doing it. The moon is reacting to me. The water rose slightly, glowing like liquid silver. Then a voice echoed, not from the tunnels, not from outside, but from everywhere around them. A deep, ancient whisper. Child of Earth. We remember you. Mira stumbled back, terrified. Cale felt his knees weaken. Aaron didn't look surprised. They warned me this might happen, he said quietly. Planets that once knew humans, still carry memory. And some will try to help. Cale stared at the glowing water. Help you? How? Aaron lifted his wrist. The device shone like a small star. The planet is waking its old defenses. A violent tremor shook the cavern. Dust fell from the ceiling. The roots glowed bright as daylight. And from the distant tunnel, a cold robotic voice echoed closer. Retrieve human, eliminate protectors. Mira grabbed Aaron. We need to run. Aaron looked at the glowing spring one last time. I remember the stars, he whispered. And now, they remember me. Cale pulled him away as the Sky Hunter's shadows appeared in the far tunnel. The chase had begun again. But this time Aaron was awake. And something ancient had awakened with him.